This is the Daily Divide. So the new system that's being implemented, if your child is absent from 5 to 10 days absence, they'll be sent you will be sent a notification, and that keeps going up in the days where they've implemented that. Parents can be prosecuted if their child doesn't turn up to school. Now, this sounds like a bit of a nanny state thing to me. I know I've been very quick. I don't know if you've seen the article, but I'm keeping it very, very, very quick because we've got other things to talk about. I want to talk a bit more elaborately. But does this or does this not sound like the nanny state and big government controlling what you can or can't do? Lennox?
Well, no, because basically going to school is actually everyone needs to go to school.
Yeah. Good job, Lennox. You're flying.
Honestly,
you're a good national member, Lennox. You've got this.
No. Honestly, basically, like
school's important.
They're not.
You need to go to school. Stay in school, kids.
Well, because if they're not in school, what are they really doing? Not much.
Huffing glue.
If they're not going to school,
that's what your kids are doing. They're huffing glue and smoking weed.
They win.
And
probably. Yeah, I know heaps of people that do that.
Yeah, and you. I've seen you. I've seen you.
I've seen you too. I've seen you. Up James Shaw's ass, but we won't talk about that.
I told you that in confidence. So.
But anyway, what I'm saying here is, look.
Elaborate.
Okay,
why is it important? Learning things. It's weird.
Because it's important, and this is why it's important, because the better educated.
That was just a joke.
Is the next generation.
No, that was just a joke. Tell me why this is not a nanny. Tell me why this sort of measure and prosecuting parents for unattendance for any reason whatsoever is not the government and nanny state. Something the complete opposite of what ACT should stand for.
Because the thing is if they're not going to school, they're not actually helping your precious, your precious collective, or whatever you guys like to call it on the left. We're all, I can't even remember how you talk about it, but
you don't have an argument.
The thing is, right?
He doesn't
have an argument. No. Here's what I'm trying to say is I just can't get the words. Is the reason they're doing it is because if kids aren't in school, this sounds really, really, really like I sound like a teacher. But here's the thing: is like if kids don't go to school, they're not doing much. If they're not learning, they're not doing anything productive, which means in the future they're not going to be able to, help society as a whole grow. And it's not even just
We're
about
lockstep here.
Everybody. They're not just about everybody. It's not just about the country and as a collective. It's about the individual person. They're not going to be able to be successful and do things. I'm not saying everyone's got to go to university, everyone's got to stay till year 13, but that everybody needs to learn the fundamentals, how to do maths, how to read and write, if you can do so.
Preach, brother.
But the thing is a lot of people at the moment aren't doing that. And when they say they're going to prosecute parents, like the justice system is backed up with all the murderers and all that.
There's so many murderers in this country, God.
Well, you know what I mean.
Overflowing.
The people that have,
and they're brown.
The people that have actually, the people that are actually committing serious crimes, like things under the Serious Crimes Act, prosecutors aren't going to have the time to prosecute parents for this. So it's just a scare tactic, really.
Oh, that makes it better. So right, okay, I agree with all of that. Maybe the last part, I think that's it's a bit of like mental gymnastics there. But I agree with that part. School is important, right? We need to learn. We need good classrooms with less than 35 people that students can actually concentrate in, with good paying teachers that actually have the proper resources and the proper funding to do their job. So the reason why I slightly brought up the fact that this in my opinions is literally just a tactic for National or the government to boost up attendance numbers right up until election and go, hey, look, we're doing good, look at that, awesome, look at us, we're doing so good, attendance is up, yay, without making cuts, $30 million cuts into programs, into educational programs, and not bothering to raise teachers' salaries, not bothered to put any funding into, and siphoning funding off of other in state education, and not giving the proper funding for state schools. So, look, your point about that education is important, people should turn up is right, but if you turn up to a school, I will speak slightly about school lunches there. If you and it's not enjoyable, and you're not enjoying it, what's the point? So I think attendance is a tertiary issue.
Do you enjoy going to your job every day?
It's a job. I don't really care for it.
It's the same for school.
That's the problem,
because
right?
You need to
because
do it.
Okay. You sound old. So school is educational. You're not getting paid for it. It is something you learn. You find your experiences. You find yourself in your heart. That's beautiful. And so, and it's about like you're growing up. Why should it be something like God, Karen? Where school outside was bloody awful. I got punched in the back of the head by this bloke. Why does it have to be like that? And you're supposed to be like, again, finding yourself, finding your experiences. Honestly, for me, I didn't really learn a lot in school. I learned things, just not as much as I kind of hindsight thought I did. I learned how to spell.
Well, for me,
obviously.
I've actually learned.
If it's not enjoyable and it's not adapting to the situation, why would such a binary figure like attendance numbers have any influence? Like, I don't know. That just seems very very short-minded. There's no long-term vision.
Well, I'll tell you what. Like, in saying people need to go to school and that, like, I've actually, my personal experience is I've actually learned more by working, like going to work and working alongside intelligent people in the workplace, and I've actually learned more than I did at school. I think that is the thing of, that sometimes happens, and there needs to be an option there. But anyway, let's move on.
I just want to be very brief here. Like, I've had experiences where I've been in a class of like 35 to 40, and I've learned absolute F all, and it's just a loud class, and you can't do anything, and the teacher's trying to focus on other things, and you just sit there and you're just waiting to go home. That's not enjoyable. Like, it's not enjoyable. Like, what's the point in having that? I understand attendance is important, but if you don't have something, if there's no point in turning up, you might as well just not have school. If you're not going to fund it, don't have it. Which I'm not saying you shouldn't, but what's the point?
Anyway, let's move on, because we've got a couple other things. Yeah, we can touch on school lunches.
I just wanted to briefly say there was a David Seymour interview with on Q&A with Jack Tame that I watched today. And they spoke briefly on the this is another example of the fact that this binary thinking on attendance, the fact that there was a figure that school lunches would only brought up attendance by, like, I think in between 1% to 2%, which was in I think it was like 1.6% or something to that effect. It's on Q&A if you want the exact figure. It was about a total in 3 days annually, which, if you look at it, that figure, yeah, this is another example of the government seeing the cost in something, while not seeing the value in something. We've got 10 minutes, okay. Not seeing the value in something. Like, there are so many other factors to school lunches that have influenced your education. Like, for me, when we were at school, the school we were at was trialing in like 2021, and that we're trialing the school lunch system, and it wasn't as good. It wasn't amazing. There was no hot food. But, like, for people who don't have breakfast, don't have dinner, aren't able to
Hot
afford
food. Why
food.
do you need hot food?
There are
Just give them
there is
some
hot
bread.
food. Okay. So it's for people like that, that's a huge boon. Like if you like, I don't know, you're probably not planning on it, but if you join the army, the military, is a huge morale when you're out on the. I've got no experience of this, but of course there's studies to support this. When you're out on deployment, having hot food is such a huge morale booster. When you're out on deployment, it's kind of similar to when you're in school. When you can't afford to have dinner and your family can't afford to have dinner or breakfast. If you're at home and your family can't afford dinner and breakfast, and you go to school absolutely malnourished, and you don't have a lot, you haven't eaten food a lot, and you go to school and there's food there, and it's offered for everyone, not just specifically for you, that is a huge boost. That's not just for attendance. That influences your ability to learn. States have proven that, obviously. I can't cite them now because they're not on. I wasn't expecting to talk about this.
Yeah, yeah,
There's so many
yeah, yeah.
factors there, and
Look,
that's my
look.
part of my argument of the fact that nationals see this as an identifier that we can just boost that, makes us look good, re-elected.
Well, the
That was your own
coalition,
call.
yeah, the coalition